get free Archie toys and Pulp cereal.
Honeycomb's got a free jumpin' Archie. Veronica, Jughead, or Archie.
Everything's Archie.
In Alphabets, you get a free Archie car.
Give the Archies a ride.
On Super Sugar Crisp, get a free Archie record.
Everything's Archie.
In Crispy Critters and Rice Crinkles, you get free Archie rub-ons. Whenever you see all these Post cereals, you know
Everything's Archie.
The Archies are my favorite group. And on Super Sugar Crisp, you get an Archie record. Free, free, free. Right on the box. So come to the Sugar Bear Record Hop. Collect 4 different Archie records. Sing to them. Dance to them. Rock to them. Eat to them. Get your free Archie record.
Everything's Archie.
On Super Sugar Crisp.
Truth be told, the only thing I think I loved more than Saturday morning cartoons when I was a kid was eating a big bowl of sugared cereal while watching Saturday morning cartoons. So many bowls and so many wonderful cartoons. You know, it was pretty cool when the two merged like they did with Mr. T cereal here. The other day while I was putting together a video about the A-Team, I stumbled across this image of Mr. T cereal, and all of a sudden I started to recall all of the wonderful comments that various YouTubers have left about their favorite cereals from the 80s. And most of these comments weren't about the classics. You know, the cereals that have been around for decades. Apple Jacks, Fruit Loops, Sugar Pops, the meat and potatoes of the sugared cereal aisle. And we're certainly not talking about my favorite, the king of all sugared cereals, Lucky Charms. This was my go-to cereal whenever we could talk my mother into something other than Cheerios and shredded wheat. So anyway, without any further ado, let me introduce you to the 5 sugared cereals from the 80s with some sort of product tie-in that are most often mentioned by my fellow YouTubers. So here are the contenders, the cereals that seem to have been mentioned most often in the comments section of my various videos. I put all 5 of these cereals in a survey for you to vote on, and over 400 of you did exactly that. So here are the results. Let's do it. Let's find out which of these cereals is the one that, as a child, you requested most often in the breakfast aisle. Oh, so many years ago. Coming in at number 5 is Donkey Kong cereal. Only 9% of survey respondents thought that this cereal was the best. Clearly, the arcade game was much better than the cereal. With 12% of the votes, we've got another arcade game. Number 4 was Pac-Man cereal from Kellogg's. I actually liked this cereal quite a bit. It was probably because the Mrs. Pac-Man and the Ghost Marshmallows reminded me of Lucky Charms. Along with Smurfberry Crunch, YouTuber Willow Devereaux is a fan as well. In fact, so much so that she said she would buy both Smurfberry Crunch and Pac-Man cereal if they were still being made today. Quick sidebar, I stumbled across this photo from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. You can see both Pac-Man and Donkey Kong cereal in the bottom right corner there. But does anyone else remember buckwheats? Aside from the famous character on the Little Rascals, the name does sound familiar, but I can't remember if I ever tried them or not. Help me out, people. If you remember eating buckwheats, tell me about them in the comments section of this video, and if they're still around, I've got to know. Alright, back to the survey. With 14% of the votes, Kellogg's C-3POs have found the middle ground. I remember getting these just because they were Star Wars related. I didn't love them. I wanted to love them, but I just didn't. They were a fairly non-offensive, crunchy type cereal comprised of oats, wheat, and corn. Maybe, just maybe, if they'd put mini lightsabers or some other cool Star Wars themed toy inside of the box, I might have asked for them more often. As such, I think we might have been a one and done with these guys in the Sundstrom home. Still, unopened boxes of these things are worth a pretty penny these days. It makes me wonder what YouTuber Rome Ticklin might be able to get if he were to sell his unopened box of C-3POs on eBay today. Whatever you decide to do with them, my friend, please do not eat them. They weren't great back when they were fresh. And they've got to be absolutely horrible after all these years, even if they were packed with vitamins. Coming in at number 2 with 20% of the votes is Mr. T cereal. This is probably the cereal that I would have voted on as the best of the lot. I not only like this cereal, which I remember tasting like a mix of honeycombs and Captain Crunch, but I loved the marketing for this cereal, which was made by the fine folks at Quaker Oats. Plus, the cereal had a pretty darn sweet cameo in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, one of my favorite movies of all time. I totally agree with Devil Dog 3381 when he or she says that he can't look at Mr. T cereal without hearing Pee-wee Herman's voice. So anyway, through sheer process of elimination, I'm sure that most of you have figured out that the number 1 cereal from the 80s, at least from this motley crew of contenders, is Smurf Berry Crunch. An amazing 49% of you voted for this cereal, which I don't think I ever tried back when Post was making it. I wasn't a Smurf fan, so I just didn't get sucked in by the marketing. However, lots of comments about Smurf Berry Crunch seem to corroborate the extremely high percentage of you that voted for this cereal. Apparently, besides an amazing commercial jingle for the cereal, it actually tasted pretty darn good. David Davidson said that they were his favorite, and I think Logic Can't Be Broken said it best when he called the cereal unearthly good. I don't know if you can get higher praise than that, unless you're talking about E.T. cereal. Sure, it's not around anymore, but I'm still reminded of that cereal every now and again when I have myself a big bowl of Reese's Puffs. Of all the sweetened cereals out there these days, if I'm not eating Lucky Charms, I'm having a big bowl of Puffs, which, by the way, are great to eat without milk as a snack while watching Andy Griffith, Buck Rogers, or Kolchak the Night Stalker on MeTV these days. So that's it. One last picture, this time from a vintage commercial promoting the number 1 cereal from the 80s. Man, those Smurfs were popular. Maybe I should have given their cereal a try. Anyway, what do you think? Did you love Smurf Berry Crunch as much as my channel viewers who participated in my online survey did? If not, what was your favorite and why? Remember, we're not talking about the classics here, just those cereals that came and went during one of the greatest decades ever, the 80s. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and while you're at it, please click on the like button. And maybe, just maybe, subscribe to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.
The Live Stream Code and Rating Administration has rated this online event PG. All ages admitted. Please be kind and stay on topic.
Good evening and welcome to the Good Stuff Live. My name is Dave Sundstrom, and if you enjoy music, movies, and mostly TV from decades gone by, you've come to the right place. So tonight is a very special evening. It's RetroPALooza number 3, which means I'm going to be bringing on some really special guests in just a few minutes. But first, I want to make sure I say hello to as many people as I can in the comments section. And that does remind me, let me also say thank you to my executive producers this evening, Lance Chaffin, Mike D. Truly appreciate you. There was a late entry. I saw a super sticker as well. Let me see if I can track that one down real quick. That was from, and I really apologize. I want to say the name, but I fear that I'm going to mispronounce it. Baruch B'Shem Yeshua. So Hopefully I said that okay. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Mike D also joined as a new channel member, as did Terry Reed a couple of days ago when I first published the notification of this live stream. So thanks to everybody. All of those individuals are executive producers of the live stream tonight, and they truly are appreciated. So much so that I have a little something for them.
Yo.
Thanks for your support. Truly appreciated. All right, let's get rolling. Let's see who we have here tonight. Lots of folks have been in the chat for a good long time. And Sparky just dropped a super sticker as well. Thank you so much, Sparky. Truly appreciated. You know, it's just great to have such an engaged and enthusiastic community. You guys are all just so wonderful. All right, let's see who we have here. Georgia Ayers, welcome. Karen Lester's here. Channel member Sean Innes, channel member Superplex, KD, Karen Lester, Gary Carpenter, Shannon Burns, channel member Lance Chaffin, Ms. 12 Deadly Sins, channel member Tracy Roth Myers, channel member Dave Claroni, Michael Staunton, channel member Emily Miller. Let's see, Barak Bashem Yeshua is here. Tom McCluskey's here. The Josh Sings is here. Holy cow, so many people here this evening and such great conversation. Channel member Mike D, as I already mentioned. Raja 1938, always great to see you in the chat. Amelia Diaz, welcome. Good to have you here. James Dye, Jeep Lover. Let's see who else. Dennis Huivart, I think is how you'd say that. Dave Thomas is here. Welcome, Dave. Always good to see you in the live stream. Tom Lemery, there's a name I recognize. Angela McArdle, welcome. Good to have you here. Danny Staten from South Carolina, always a treat to have you hanging out with us. Chris Budarakos is here as well. Let's see. Lots of conversation about the cereals. DOA version 2.1 is here with us. Jason Goldtrap, Custom God. Let's see. Sparky, thank you so much for that super sticker again. Chad Baxter says, who you got on the Super Bowl? I got to go KC. I'm going KC. I'm a big fan of the coach, Andy Reid. Let's see. Tony Mammal is here. Ken Pope is here. Keith Smith, welcome. Andrew Fisher, welcome. I'm going to miss a couple folks if I'm scrolling through quite quickly, but thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. David Rasmussen, welcome as well. I think I'm caught up. I think I've scrolled through. Hopefully caught BK Pros 3. Did I see that there? BK Pros 3. Hello. Good to have you here as well. All right. With that said, tonight, Filmation is the topic, and I've got 3 esteemed gentlemen that I've invited to join me. Let's go reverse alphabetical here. So we'll start with, well, it works either way if I'm using first names or last names, I think. So we'll start here with Mr. Robert Pons. Is it Ponce? Is it P-O-N-T-Z?
My actual name is P-O-N-T-Z, but the character's name was P-O-N-S. It was close enough for government work, so I went with Rashbondo Pons. But my actual given name is spelled P-O-N-T-Z. It's a German derivation, I believe.
How would it be pronounced, though, Bob?
Ponce.
Ponce, okay.
Ponce.
Yeah.
They pronounce the Z part of an S, you know.
Got it. But we call him Thrash Pondo here. That's the name of his channel. We'll talk about his channel later on as we get a little closer to the end of the hour. But super great to have you here as well. I loved your latest video with your newly acquired VCR, Bob.
Toy.
I tell you, it's been I went a long time without a VCR, and we have a boatload of VHS tapes that I can't just bring myself to throw away because they were my mother's. She recorded a lot of old shows on them. And so we picked up a combo unit not too long ago, and it was just so great to have access to those things again.
It sure is. It sure is. It's more sentimental than anything else, but they're getting hard to come by. So every time I find one, I grab it for myself.
Probably pretty wise. At some point, they're just not going to be available anymore. Yeah. All right. Pat McCormick, how the heck are you, my friend?
I am doing just great, Dave. Thank you. Good to see you, my buddy.
You sound
How do I
wonderful.
I sound wonderful? Good.
Oh, you do.
You do. You sound great, dude.
Well, so do you, Thrash Man.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I've sorted out the mic problem.
You know, Dave, you are now nationwide. You know what I mean?
That?
Well,
By
see,
yourself.
you got Thrash
That's
over
right.
on
Yeah.
Cape Cod. You got me on the coast of California. Now, the only thing you need to do is just kind of go southeast a little bit. You know, not all the way.
If only we could. If only there was someone
I
that
don't know
potentially
anybody.
we could add to the mix.
I did not
That's
mean him.
Xavier from Atlanta.
That's not Alan Sanders.
No, it's not.
We were promised Alan Sanders. We were promised Alan Sanders.
So sorry to disappoint you guys. I'm so sorry.
We can count our blessings, actually.
Yes. Hey, we all have the power tonight.
Indeed, we do. Indeed, we do.
I'll get
So,
you, man.
I got to ask you guys, did anybody, I had a thumbnail out there for this live stream. Did any of you guys notice what's wrong with this? Did anybody notice anything wrong with the thumbnail? Bob,
Yeah.
did anyone else?
You have to
Barry's
show
in
to
it.
me again. Uh-oh. Well, I'm can I tell you something though?
Yeah.
It's wrong, but the voice of Thundar is an actor who did a lot of Filmation voices too. So it's kind of sort of right, but not really. So I'll tell you later. You know what I'm talking
Not
about.
right. Not right.
I'm trying to help.
Yeah, I looked at that and I thought, what was I thinking? Now, the thing is I'm trying to decide was Thundar, was it true Hanna-Barbera or was it Ruby Spears?
Yeah, it was Ruby Spears' production was Thundar on ABC. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I lose
I was gonna say
a point or two in credibility for that, but
That's
Well,
all right.
and I won't tell Burt Ward that you left Robin out of it either. But
yeah. I think I have Robin later on when we if we talk about that particular we will. Why am I saying if? When we talk about that cartoon, I've got a picture of Robin. But Robert Ridgely, right, is the voice that was both Thundar and Tarzan.
And
Flash Gordon. Jinx.
And Prince Baron.
There you go. Yeah.
He was a talented guy. Really was.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Thrash Pondo, Robert there has requested, being a super friend of the channel, those folks that are super friends, I reach out to them on a quarterly basis and say, hey, what do you want me to make a video on? And his first request was Robert Ridgely. So that one is just kind of, I've been ruminating on that, but that's probably the first of the super friend requests that I'm going to do. Kind of excited about that one.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah. All right. So
I'm glad
let's
to be
start.
here. I can't believe it's our third RetroPALooza.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's you know what, these quarterly live streams where we bring together the gang are among my absolute favorite to do. And I know that based on the engagement and the feedback we get from the community that they love seeing you guys on with me. So thank you to each one of you for joining me this evening.
My pleasure.
Talk about Super Friends. This is Super Friends right here.
Right.
Folks. You're looking at it. Right.
Wonder Quad's powers activate.
So I haven't really thought about how I want to do this, but I think what we'll do is let's all share a favorite Filmation cartoon, and we'll go alphabetical this time. So which would be just actually kind of me working reverse clockwise, starting with Barry here on the screen. So Barry, do you want to talk about a favorite Filmation? And you know what? We said cartoons, but I think it's fair to say any Saturday morning program that Filmation produced. Or
Definitely.
syndicated cartoons, since,
Definitely.
if someone is, because they did some that weren't Saturday morning as well.
Well,
So.
I kind of did that. I've got of several favorite animated and several favorite.
You
live
only get
action
one,
shows.
Dave.
Oh, we'll have plenty of conversation later, but let's start with everybody's favorite.
Barry's gonna say them all right now. There won't be any left. I know how this works.
No. I promise I won't do it. I do want to start out by saying Michael Gray, who plays Shazam, who plays Billy Batson in the Shazam live action Filmation show, may be listening tonight, or may be on board with us, because I spoke with him yesterday. He's a good pal and has become a good pal with Pat too. He may be listening. I'll have to hear from him later. He may be listening to our show.
Well, if he does end up listening or watching at any point, let me just state for the record, a true honor. Michael Gray is a legend. He's television's Michael Gray. What am I even saying? You can't just say Michael Gray. You've got to say
Archer.
TV's Michael Gray.
Right. Well, I'll start out by saying it was my favorite production house as a kid, Filmation. I mean, I was crazy about the Filmation production company. I could watch. I got to where I could watch something and not even be told it was Filmation, and could tell it was by the direction, the artistry, the some of the voice talent, especially the music as well, that was reused with Filmation Productions. But more on details later. I will tell you my favorite animated. I'll go with animated first. Animated production from Filmation. To me, it was their peak, their apex has to be 1979 on NBC, The New Adventures of Flash Gordon, hands down. I mean, I loved. A lot of people go, Barry, why isn't Star Trek your number one? I'm like, well, Star Trek is great. I consider it the fourth season of Star Trek, the animated series season. But Flash Gordon, they surpassed even themselves with their animation on Flash Gordon and their storytelling and their throwbacks to Alex Raymond's character. Robert Ridgely doing Flash Gordon and Baron's voice. You've got Alan Oppenheimer doing Ming in his own great evil way that Pat was doing earlier. He was doing Skeletor, but Alan Oppenheimer is Skeletor. He's just got the voice. He was Rudy Wells on $6 Million Man. So New Adventures of Flash Gordon. I mean, they showed it. They started off with a movie and showed it in prime time to begin with, if I'm not mistaken, on NBC. So you've got to be pretty good to be shown in prime time in '79 if you're an animated show. So there you go, number one for me.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of promotion for that. That particular, was it a 1 hour movie or a 90-minute movie? I can't remember, but I remember being excited for it and really loving it.
Do you remember Thrash? I think it was 90 minutes with commercials, but I can't remember. I'll have to look it up because I never saw it when it's premiere. So
that sounds right. I'm going back over 40 years, and I was a kid at the time.
Right.
That sounds right. I think 90 minutes is about right.
And it was pre the Dino De Laurentiis, Sam Jones opus, right?
I'm pretty sure it was on before that. Because we know George Lucas originally wanted to do Flash Gordon.
Right.
And they told him no. So he went, well, fine, I'll go make my own science fiction movie, which he did. And then they're like, oh, wait a minute. Look at Star Wars. Let's do Flash Gordon now and get the screenwriter from Batman, the TV show, Lorenzo Semple, to write it. And it was great, too, in its own way. So, yeah, you're right.
In its own way, though, I have to say, though, this feels more faithful. The Filmation adaptation is way more faithful, right?
Definitely so. Definitely so.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. The animation, the background laser light effects in Ming's hall, where he would have the red shimmering light behind it. Filmation they weren't I don't want to say guilty of rotoscoping, but they did reuse animation that was very fluid when Tarzan would swim.
Oh yeah.
Or when Flash Gordon would run and stuff. It looked perfectly animated, and they used it, and it was great. I loved it. What a great animated series that was.
The stories were so good you didn't mind.
Yeah, there were chapters. We wanted to see the next one. We really did.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all here on YouTube, by the way. If anybody wants to go back and watch them, they're there. Pat, you're up.
I'm up. Okay. Let's see. Well, these guys, boy, don't ever try doing this, folks, without rehearsal.
Yeah, it's hard to do that. It's because it's that whole reverse thing. Yeah.
Right. Okay. These guys are definitely
It's a story of an
I've got to
ending
stop.
gravy.
I've got to stop trying to do this. My other two friends here are much more aware of the history of Filmation. I just enjoyed the cartoons. I will say, based on the fact that I am also friends with Michael Gray, that Shazam was my favorite, especially if you're out there, Michael. But of course, that was live action, and oh yes, I was in love with Isis too. But the thing is that 1983 was the year I was full on into music. I was in a really good band at that time with Dick Smothers Jr. of all people. Yes, of the Smothers Brothers fame, his son. And we were working a lot. And I was 20, turning 21, I remember. So it's like past the age of watching afternoon cartoons. Come on, Pat. I mean, really, don't you have anything better to do? Like practice your guitar a bit, which of course I did, but I could not go to rehearsal, which were always evenings, without seeing He-Man. I had to see my He-Man. And if you were to ask me why, I would say, well, God, I don't know. It seems so original, but that would be kind of like a half answer. And it was kind of like what I was saying a little earlier. These things were really well written. I mean, the stories were interesting. They brought you in, even as somebody that wasn't like a fanatic, like me. I had to see He-Man. The Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters, were also, in that category. Had to see that too. And unfortunately for me, they played back to back in the afternoon. Not Filmation with the Ghostbusters, but at least that Ghostbusters,
Right?
The good Ghostbusters. But yeah, He-Man I loved. It struck a chord. It could be corny as heck, but at the same time, it was enjoyable. And the moral of the story, which was always a nice touch. Not that I needed it by the time I was 21, because I was a lost cause. But it's like
We were in a band.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, he'll survive as long as they don't make it. He'll survive. Yeah,
Right.
that was the thing. But yeah, He-Man #1 for me for sure.
Awesome. I was watching a documentary on Lou Scheimer the other day, and they talked about the whole He-Man, how that was kind of created in conjunction with the toy line. And Scheimer, while he was all on board with that and, the promotion that comes from that, he refused to actually let the toy manufacturer dictate the creation of the characters, where they were coming at him saying, hey, we want this, we want that. He's like, no, the stories are going to dictate what characters are in the show, that type of thing. And he, as tempting as it was, and we saw a lot of cartoons and other type shows in the mid to late 80s, even into the 90s, that were really just big commercials. Scheimer and Norm Prescott, they did their darndest to make sure that, these shows had tie-in merchandise that you could go buy at the store, but that wasn't what this was. These weren't 22-minute commercials. They were legitimate stories designed to entertain, and entertain they did.
Exactly.
And I'd like to add that I think that He-Man owes a lot to another one of my favorite Filmation productions called Black Star, because Black Star was a fantastic show that I actually like a little better than He-Man, because I think they took elements of Black Star and changed them a little bit. They were a lot of the same characters and situations and stuff, and just it was kind of He-Man light, and then turned it into He-Man. So yeah, I can agree with that too.
Very,
Absolutely.
very Zorro-like is what I always thought. This is the same story as Zorro.
Right.
But it works.
And they weren't against reusing particular storylines and plot points and all that kind of stuff. Hey, it was good the first time. Why won't it be good over on Black Star? If it worked on Zorro, why won't it work?
Black Star rode a dragon. Why not put He-Man on a big cat? It's the same thing, Yeah.
Battle Cat. Get it right, Barry.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm noticing some comments directed to us in the chat, and what I'm going to say to the folks in the chat is hold those comments, or not comments, but rather questions. If you have a question for us, please hold on to them. And there's going to be probably the last 15, 20 minutes. It's just going to be open question time. You can ask any of us questions. Hopefully, a lot of them are related to cartoons and Filmation, but we'll answer any questions you might have. So hold those questions. Feel free to engage and chat. But as I have this conversation with my esteemed guests, I'm not going to be able to pay as much attention as I would like to at the chat, and I will miss them right now, and I don't want to miss any of the questions you might have. So moving on, Bob, you're up, my friend. What was and I get it that maybe it's hard to be third. You might, if it's okay to say one of those, but tell me another one that you really enjoyed besides perhaps He-Man and. What was yours, Barry? I've already forgotten.
Flash Gordon.
I remember Flash Gordon. Yeah,
Flash Gordon animated. Yeah.
And those were nails on the head. Trust me. But I got to tell you, as I've spoken before, Filmation was kind of there when I really needed it. When we moved to Cape Cod, we had one channel. All the Filmation cartoons were on that one channel, so it sort of saved my day. But if I had to pick one Filmation show, which I loved above all the others, not that there weren't plenty of other great material to pick from, I had to go with Star Trek. I was a Trekkie before there was such a thing. I used to watch it with my father when I was very, very little. I kind of grew up on Star Trek. It was one of the first shows I remember watching as a child. And the first time I saw an episode, we were visiting my aunt and uncle, and I was in my cousin's room. He was a little older. He had his own TV set, and he put on a Star Trek cartoon. And I'm like, a Saturday morning cartoon of Star Trek? And the amazing thing about the Star Trek cartoons is, much as we were talking about the quality of the writing in He-Man and Flash Gordon, those Star Trek episodes, most of the people consider them canon. I mean, they were very well written. They really stand together. I think some of them are actually better than some of the TOS scripts, or at least comparable. And it was just an amazing series. It really just became part of my childhood. It became part of my whole science fiction fan experience. So much as the others are great too, I have to go with Star Trek.
It won an Emmy Award.
It was the unofficial fourth season.
It was.
Absolutely.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, most Trekkies consider it canon. No, I do.
Too bad they couldn't find better voice actors, though. I mean, Jesus.
What about your hacks, right?
No. Is that all you got?
James Tiberius Kirk. Tiberius was from the animated series, and they kept it, so it must have been canon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it isn't Robert.
In those
Roy.
animated episodes.
Yeah, Roy. James
And
Roy Kirk.
most of the other voices were actually done by veteran voice actor James Doohan. He'd done voice work in addition to acting. So pretty much, if he's not an actual member of
Don't call me at the office.
But yeah, James Doohan did a lot of the other side voices as well.
Yeah. The real shame is that they weren't able to include Walter Koenig in the production as Chekhov. And
he did write an episode.
They did. That was the consolation, is that they allowed him to make a little bit of money by writing an episode for the animated
He did write
series.
one of the worst ones. Yes, he certainly did.
Hey, Dave, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? I'm noticing that people are acting. See, I'm getting a weird feed here with the comments.
Yeah.
But it is as though people are talking to Michael Gray. Is anybody else seeing this?
Is Michael Gray there?
And
I
that
see Michael loved
comment-
Shazam as a kid. I
don't
haven't
see
seen
him.
Michael join us.
So maybe it's just a trending rumor that he's here. Because
Yeah.
everybody's like, Michael, I loved you in this. We're only talking about him, folks. And Barry said he might be with us, but I can't see his name come up. I was wondering if you guys did.
Yeah,
And
no,
I'm
Michael
unaware if he was
hasn't
gonna-
popped into the chat at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was going to be
False
able to do
alarm.
that. So.
Yeah.
I guess if he is here, well, I'll treat him like he is.
He may just
So,
be
hey,
watching.
Thrash, speaking of the chat, I did have a request from Emily Miller is there a possibility you can move your microphone a little closer to you?
Emily.
Yeah.
She's such a stickler for perfection. I'm telling you.
Is that
Everything.
better? Is that better?
Yeah, a
We'll
little bit
find
better,
out.
I think. Maybe
We'll find
maybe
out.
not. I don't know. Try it again.
I'll figure something out.
Where there's a
While we're
will,
doing
there's
that,
a way.
I'll go ahead and share my favorite Filmation episode or show, which has to be. Let me go ahead and just pull it up on the screen. Here we go, Pat. For my not including the other half of the dynamic duo. Both versions of Filmation's Batman and Robin. So there were two. And I think actually I'll put this image back up on the screen for a minute. I think this image, it feels to me like this image is from the late 60s version, which had Olin Sewell, if I'm pronouncing that name correctly, and Casey Kasem as as Robin. And they went on to reprise their vocal talents as Batman and Robin in Super Friends, which was a Hanna-Barbera production. And in that original version, we had Ted Knight as Commissioner Gordon, and he went on to Super Friends as well as the narrator, and Larry Storch as I believe he was the Joker in that version.
Great.
And it just it was kind of an unofficial fourth season of the Batman television series without, not quite the camp level that the TV series had, but definitely for us kids that were sad that Batman and Robin were no longer on TV. It was great to see them return on Saturday mornings. And then about 10 years later, Filmation produced The New Adventures of Batman and Robin. And this time they brought back Adam West and Burt Ward as the Cape Crusaders. And it was just, those were so much fun. And it brings me to a real point of Filmation cartoons and live action shows. The New Adventures of Batman and Robin at the end would have a message, a little 30-second, 45-second snippet where it was kind of a recap of what we'd seen in the show, and then Batman or Robin kind of tying it all together for us kids, connecting the dots. And we'd see this later on with the live action shows like Shazam and ISIS. There were a number of shows where they tried to do this, and it was because I saw this in the documentary the other day. Lou Scheimer felt a real sense of responsibility to not only entertain but to really present something of value to kids and to kind of help, knowing that he had their eyeballs for a half an hour, 2 hours on Saturday morning. He wanted to feel like he was doing something meaningful, and so that was the go get the cereal time for me. But but I appreciate Lou for trying to do that.
They certainly had my eyeballs. They had mine for a long time.
You can't find that anymore, nor will you ever again.
Yeah.
And so what's to be said about that? Well, he's a saint, I suppose, because, hey, if you can package it and still keep kids interested. And that was another thing about Shazam that was so great. There was always that. And the moral of the story is, and you got to believe it really did help kids out, help these highly influential young beings that are all hyped up on sugar milk and
Right.
the soupy stuff at the bottom, right, Barry?
Oh yeah,
That was the best part, right?
Oh yeah.
oh yeah. And Michael Gray told me that he took Lou took great care in the consulting PhDs and you notice they're credited at the end of Shazam, the doctors that they would work with doctorates in constructing those messages and a lot of those stories. Yeah, it would.
I love the conversation so far, and I want to continue the Filmation conversation. But let's do this. Let me take care of some sponsor messages.
Speaking of sponsors,
a 2-minute bio break, fellers, and then we can come back, talk a little bit more about Filmation, any other shows we want to talk about, because obviously there's a whole bunch more in the Filmation stable of TV shows, and then answer questions as well. And then I do have a copy of Retro Fan Magazine to give away tonight. So hang on, folks. We're going to be right back, but first, these messages.
After these messages.
That's just right. We'll be right back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here we go.
Quiet! I'm me, Fruit Brute, with my fruit-flavored cereal, Fruit Brute, part of your nutritious breakfast. Who are you? But delicious Fruit Brute has fruit-flavored marshmallows for the howling good taste of fruit.
Count Chocula's got chocolate marshmallows.
Frankenberry's got strawberry-flavored marshmallows. Fruit Brute, with the howling good taste of fruit.
Honeycomb kid, logs are gonna crash into the bridge and my brother's trapped on the bridge.
And there's no time to lose. We'll go by dolphin.
Breakfast sweet as honey plus honeycomb for your own. Now crisp or crunchy or treat at home. New bite size, right size honeycomb.
How are you gonna stop the logs from hitting the bridge?
Don't know yet, but I'm glad I have my honeycomb. Post honeycomb is now bite-sized. Crisper, crunchier, better than ever.
Honeycomb kid's coming to save our son on the bridge.
And he's got Billy with him. Great day. Breakfast sweet as honey plus honeycomb for your own. Now a bite-sized treat that is really sweet post honeycomb.
Honeycomb kid's my hero. I'm gonna eat his cereal forever.
Now a bite-sized treat that is really sweet post honeycomb.
They just don't make commercials like that anymore, fellers.
Or the guys that make them don't get as stoned as that anymore. That's what it is.
That animation style in that last one was very reminiscent of the stuff the Bullwinkle kind of animation style.
Definitely.
I don't know if
Yeah.
it came from that Jay Ward stable of animators,
Yeah.
but it was awesome. I love that commercial, and I remember it. I literally, when I found that on YouTube, I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember this commercial. I remember the Honeycomb Kid.
Out of all the monster cereals, Fruit Brute was my favorite one, and they had to quit selling it. It was the first one, I think, to go, and I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, those guys must have been hanging out with Sid and Marty Krofft, I think. It's like,
They
yeah, we'll have the
probably
cowboy riding dolphins. Yeah, that's it. And then what? I don't know. There'll be like logs and stuff. And then like a log cabin comes out of nowhere. As long as you eat honeycomb.
Did you
Right.
see the weather vane up on the cabin?
yes.
Him riding the dolphins.
And then we'll have the weather vane. Oh, dude, that'll work. California rocks, man.
Wasn't Fruit Brute and Yummy Mummy the same cereal, just repackaged?
What was that?
Probably.
Flavor-wise?
You mean flavor-wise?
Flavor-wise.
Oh, yeah.
Flavor-wise.
I don't know. Was it the same? I thought.
I believe it was.
I'll have to look at that because I never tried Yummy Mummy. I couldn't find
On the
it.
next episode of RetroPALooza,
We'll find
That's right,
out the
we'll
answer.
have to cover
serial plagiarism. the plagiaristic practices
All right,
of
guys,
We will serialize it.
There's a boatload of shows we haven't talked about. This isn't your favorite, but let's just go ahead and go back around. We'll start with you, Robert. Let's just talk about a few other shows.
Well, like I said, when I was really little, I don't remember these in first run, but I love them. You had The Fantastic Voyage. You had Journey to the Center of the Earth. Yes, I've always been a sci-fi buff. I've also been a huge buff of the superheroes. So the Aquaman, the Superman, the Batman. These are all the 60s installments, the ones that predated the Super Friends. Loved those. And then a little bit later on, of course, I must confess, I know, Superman. Love it. I loved the Brady's Kids. I loved, was it Mystery Magic? I loved
Mission Magic, right?
Mission Magic. I'm sorry. I
Rick
always say
Springfield.
yeah, very good. I love that whole block because, again, it was the only channel I got on Saturday mornings when I was a kid. So those old Filmation cartoons, they just really, really made my day. Oh, and one thing, I got to ask you about Black Star because it was probably the last Filmation cartoon I was watching because it was right about that time I found other things to do than watch cartoons on Saturday mornings. I was like 15 at the time. Did it remind anyone else of a sort of really badass sci-fi version of Snow White?
Yeah, Filmation's version of that. Yeah.
Exactly. Where the Trobbits were like his seven dwarves.
Yep.
And he fought the evil, instead of the Wicked Witch, it was
Overlord. Yeah.
Overlord.
Right.
It was effectively Snow White.
Yeah.
It was Bro White.
Right. Right.
It's all free, isn't it?
It is now.
Snow White for us tough guys. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
a He-Man. He-Man. I have no power. Sorry. I get a little carried away there.
All right, Pat, what else are we missing?
Oh, boy. This was a very complex company. I mean, you look into their history, it is amazing, the tentacles and all the different happenings, that the happenstance, and the working with this company and that company. I mean, a hair company, a L'Oreal, Hallmark. I mean, all these, it's almost like they were all part of this just mush that made up Filmation. And it's really amazing that, of course, it worked, but it always seemed like they were trying to find, okay, what's our niche? we have a niche, don't we? Of live action. Of course, I mentioned Shazam. It's my favorite, Michael, if you're out there. But then, of course, there was Space Academy. Boy, you were ready with that one, weren't you, Dave?
I sure was.
That boy.
Lovely Pamela Fairden.
Folks, that was not pre-rehearsed. Jonathan Harris, you're like, oh, I like Jonathan Harris. He's acting just like Dr. Smith. This is fun. I love Pamela Fairden. Wow. Look at those tight pants. I mean, I love Pamela Fairden. I mean, wait a minute. No, I'm into this for the show. Guys, and I know Barry, as he's looking around, he's like, oh yeah, we all had a thing for Pamela. Kind of still do.
There was a number of great live action shows. I'll bring up a couple more in a minute, but I'm glad you brought up Space Academy, because that was one of my favorites then as well. Yeah. Barry, you got another one?
Oh, I've got so many, and I don't know if we got time because it was such a great show. Let me go back. I said that Flash Gordon was my favorite show, but it was my favorite animated show from Filmation. My favorite live action show, which is probably my favorite show they ever did as well, is Shazam, because I was so proud as a kid when I started watching. I said, Mom, you watch shows with real people in them, and some of you go, oh, you just watch cartoons. I'm like, no, I watch shows with real people in them now. I watch something called Shazam. They're not cartoons. Yeah. So I felt great that I was watching a live action show. Shazam, I mean, come on, the live action shows, the Ghostbusters. I got so mad. Now, the Ghostbusters with Forrest Tucker and Larry Storch is the one I'm talking about, the live action. I would actually get mad as a kid if I missed Ghostbusters on Saturday from Filmation. I love those guys were comedy gold. They knew each other. They had a great time on that show. They were from Meth Troop, for God's sake. They knew each other. And you mentioned Space Academy. What a great sci-fi show. We can all thank Star Wars for Space Academy coming out. And its spinoff, Jason of Star Command, to me, which was fantastic, with Sid Haig as the evil Draco. May he rest in peace. And those two shows, were connected together. And a lot of special effects folks from Star Wars worked on Space Academy, worked on their special effects and built their models. Some of the minor model builders from Star Wars worked on those shows as well. And Arc 2. Arc 2 was a fantastic post-apocalyptic show that always scared me a little bit because of what was going on the planet when I was watching television. I'm like, oh, geez, I hope that doesn't happen to us. But yeah, I always wanted a jetpack. That jetpack started out, I saw it on Gilligan's Island first, and then Arc 2 had the jetpack, which would switch to real footage of the real guy, the stuntman, the pilot of that jetpack taking off. It was not an effect. It was actual real jetpack that they were using. So there's a few more live action shows that I love from Filmation. Come on, you mentioned Star Trek. Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle.
Oh, yeah.
It was probably one of the best. And I'm pointing them. I'm bringing them up separately because eventually they packaged them all together with Tarzan, the Super 7, and then it wound up being Tarzan Long Ranger Adventure Hour. And it is like we rehearsed. There it is. Dave put it right on the screen when I said it. And I wouldn't even practice that. But I'm talking about them all individually. And hey, let's move on and talk about Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. Fat Albert was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful comedy, and taught us something and learned to sing some songs along the way. And I've got and I mentioned Black Star. So there's just a few of my favorites. But yes, Shazam, and throw ISIS in there. Fantastic live action show on Saturday morning with Michael Gray and Les Tremaine traveling the highways and the byways in a open road RV. You can't get more fun than that.
You cannot. And I put this comment up on the screen just because I want to make sure we do officially say hello to Michael Gray, who's hanging out in the chat. And commented that Pamela did an episode of Shazam. I actually watched that episode on I think it was on Tubi. I watched it not too long ago, and it was one where she was concerned about the welfare of an animal, which is no surprise given her she's a animal rights advocate big time, and really goes to bat for all of those kind of things. So
Michael was telling me earlier, Dave, that Lance Kerwin. Is it Lance Kerwin?
Yeah, he was in that with where he played a younger brother that was blind or something. I remember that episode well.
And Michael was talking about him a few days ago too.
Yeah. But thanks for joining us, Michael. It's great to have you in the chat visiting with our community. Yay. Truly appreciate it.
That's a good friend.
Yes,
you're friends with Michael, you've got a good friend, period.
TV's Michael Gray is one of the all-time greats, for sure.
Both of our wives are named Stacy, by the way.
No, they don't share them.
No, I didn't say that.
I mean, on special occasions, maybe. But only when the Winnebago's around and the air conditioner is not working. Michael will get that one. Anyway.
So here's the deal. I know that there's probably been lots of conversation already, but I haven't. And by the way, Michael Gray says thank you. No, thank you, sir. Thank you. What was we know TV's Michael Gray. It probably is Shazam. I would hope it would be Shazam. But I'm asking everybody out there in the community if you would share with us your favorite shows now. We'll put them up on the screen, and where appropriate, we will comment on them if there's things to share. Let's see. Jason Goldtrap says Michael could now be an elder. Yeah, that's true. I think all of us at this point, most of us would be considered elders at this point.
You got that right.
Superplex, channel member Superplex points out that Pamela did a ton of TV back in the 70s. She sure did. I saw her everywhere.
She was on my favorite Lassie series. The color episodes from the 70s of Lassie was fantastic.
Speaking of Lassie, we didn't even bring up Lassie's Rescue Rangers. That was another Filmation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, great. Lassie was great. Great television series.
Speaking of which, Rudd Weatherwax, Mr. Lassie himself, hated that.
Oh, yeah, I'd heard that he really thought that was a horrible adaptation.
Yeah. And
he really didn't like the animation, if I remember correctly. Which, Filmation's animation was somewhat limited, but they made up for it with storytelling.
Yeah.
This kid never saw it though. I never even noticed as a kid. I was just I
love the theme song. It had a great theme song. I could still hear it in my head. Lassie's Rescue Rangers.
That's right. It's great.
It's great. Tug says he's got to go with Flash. So Flash Gordon, yeah, for sure. Let me see what else folks are saying here. Jay Aldridge says Shazam and Batman. Good ones. I don't think Filmation did the Mr. T cartoon, David, but we'll throw it up there as a fave. Let's see. Channel member Superplex said if Filmation did Star Trek, then that would be it. It's hard to beat. I mean, they really, when they hit it out of the park, when Filmation hit it out of the park, they were home runs. And Star Trek, Flash Gordon, I got to go with Shazam as well, just because it was so innovative. Prior to Shazam, there wasn't a lot of live action TV on Saturday mornings. And boy, that cast was phenomenal. And not down the road, I'm planning on doing a video totally dead. I said some snarky things in a video about mentor a while back. You know, just the whole riding around in a RV, you know, that wouldn't fly today anymore with programming. But the more I learn about Les Tremayne, and actually I was inspired to read and learn and research the life of Les Tremayne from Michael Gray. He occasionally on Twitter will post messages, pictures of him and Les, and comments about how wonderful Les was. That's really inspired me. And somewhere down the road here, there's going to be a video that's really kind of focuses in on Les's life. He was, prior to television, the advent of television, he was one of the most recognizable voices on radio. He was a star of the caliber you would think like a Bing Crosby. It was just incredible.
Yeah.
And here he was on a Saturday morning show in the 70s.
Well, you made a point too about it not too long ago, Dave, that the live action Shazam show really was a big departure from the actual story of Shazam about Billy working for a TV station and everything. And Filmation did an animated series in the early 80s called Shazam, which Michael Gray was involved in. I wish they would have gotten his voice to do that one, but which was more reflective of the comic book and the story. But it didn't matter because like CBS taking liberties with the Incredible Hulk and with Bill Bixby, which really wasn't very much like the TV show. It didn't have supervillains or anything. It was more like The Fugitive than anything else. If you make it work within the story that you've made, hey, these two guys riding around in an open road RV and fighting crime and doing it the way they did, it was very well done.
It worked for me back then, and it actually still works for me now. And interestingly, as I was going back and rewatching Shazam not too long ago, he does in the first couple of episodes mention that he's on break from being a reporter or a newscast or something like that.
And then I think never mentioned it ever again.
It's never mentioned again. Did you know Adam West was one of the voices of one of the elders?
He was. He certainly was. And I think he was uncredited for that as well. No credit.
Yeah, he was not credited. Yep. Dave Thomas says Star Trek, Zorro, Shazam. Oh, here's one. Right. Space Sentinels.
Space Sentinels was good. Obscure. Not a lot of people remember that one, but it was well
done. That's a Croft show, but it certainly is wonderful. Land of the Lost. Certainly is wonderful.
But we love it. We love it because we love them. Yes, we do. Those guys.
Channel member Mike D says Secrets of Isis and late 70s Batman. Both of them were great. Thundar's great too. It's a Ruby. Did we decide Ruby Spears or Hanna-Barbera?
Ruby Spears, yes.
Ruby Spears, yeah. Channel member Dominic D says, remember Lassie's Rescue Rangers, liked it as a kid. Gary Carpenter liked it as well. Herman Vasquez, welcome to the live stream, Herman. Great to have you here again. Says, I enjoyed He-Man, and now that I'm older, I appreciate finding out all of the voices, both John Lee Irwin, the voice of He-Man, Alan Oppenheimer, the voice of Skeletor, are part of. Yeah, and you find out that they're in all of the shows that you love. Let's see. Jay Aldridge is asking what company did Benji and the Alien Prince. I don't remember Benji and the Alien Prince. Anybody know anything about that?
No, that's not ringing a bell with me. No.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Jason Goldtrap says he knows Michael Gray from our time. I had Michael Gray when he showed up on Shazam. He was not an unfamiliar face. He had made plenty. He'd been on the Brian Keith show, and he had, of course, made an iconic appearance on the Brady Bunch that cannot be forgotten.
With whipped cream.
It started a whipped cream craze, I think. So somehow that became even more popular after that one. I don't know.
Sure, yeah.
Why?
Michael got what he deserved on that episode. I got to tell you, he got what he deserved.
He also did a very good, well-done television movie with Burt Reynolds called Run, Simon, Run. Was another great thing. That
I have not seen that.
It's really good.
Track that one down.
Yeah.
Let's see. Johnny Quest was Hanna-Barbera, folks. Let's see.
But really
Shazam. At least channel member Lisa Field says love Shazam. Yeah, so good. Jason Goldtrap says Batman and the Super 7. Did you ever notice that Filmation was masterful at the repackaging shows and giving them new titles?
Yeah.
There was, I thought, the year that both Tarzan and Batman had been out, and the next year CBS was promoting on Saturday morning the Tarzan and Batman Power Hour. And I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to cross paths. Somehow we're going to have this amazing adventure with Tarzan and Batman. Of course, it never happened.
Would have been great though.
Oh, it would have been great. It's
They
kind
would
of
have
like
made
on
it
NBC,
great.
They had Fred and Barney Meet the Thing. I was really excited for that too, and that never happened either.
Well, think about it. Batman, Zorro, and the Phantom. Come on, all these guys are cool that have a secret lair. They have
Right.
a secret identity. They all do their thing and they wear a mask, so they all have something in common.
Yeah, yeah. There was a lot of similar influences there with those characters. Would have made sense. Hey, my friend Story Comic is here. Great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us this evening. Let's see. Care Bears was not. I don't think Care Bears was Filmation either. That one doesn't. I'm not sure the animation house on that one, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't Filmation. Goldtrap says, our friend Jason Goldtrap says Shazam was noble and innocent. God bless their efforts. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see.
And they had a lot of fun doing it too, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Tom Lemery says Shazam, ISIS, both Batman cartoons. Then we get into Croft territory here with Electra Woman and Dinah Girl and Bigfoot and Wild Boy. Let's see if I can find any more Filmation shows that folks were a fan of. You know, one that hasn't been mentioned, and I'm glad I can't remember who mentioned the Brady Kids. Love that show. And it was cool because they had Superman show up on that show. Wonder Woman showed up on that show. It was really awesome. But a show that hasn't been mentioned that was pretty darn iconic and really helped put Filmation on the map. I think their first big one was Superman. But a few years later, there was the Archies.
The Archies, yeah.
Never heard of them.
Yes. Who were those guys?
Oh yeah, the Archies, almost a cartoon version of Laugh-In with their jokes that will come in like Laugh-In.
Yeah,
very well done.
Totally
good stuff for sure. Let's see. Richard Art Digital says, "Greetings, everyone. Filmation Productions were one of my influences and entertainment in my childhood. Great memories. Best wishes from Costa Rica." So we're not just. This isn't just a national thing here. This is an international live stream. Folks.
There we go. Worldwide.
We got Richard all the way over there in Costa Rica. Thanks for joining us, Richard. Great to have you here. And I also see another one of my favorite YouTubers, Retro Nerd Girl, is popping in to say hello.
Love
Always a
stuff.
treat.
Retro
Nerd Girl, I gotta say, this lady has really kind of embraced live streaming like I have not seen this level of embracement. She truly, she's not only some of her live streams. I've seen a live stream go on for like 6 or 7 hours. That was her first live stream. That was incredible.
Wow.
But don't be afraid. Most of them aren't that long. And she does some watch parties, which is fun. She doesn't actually show the show on the screen, but everybody starts at the same time and they visit, and it's very cool. So great to have you here, RNG.
Yeah.
And let's do this. I think we've said hello. I think we've captured this. Let me take that question off the screen. Let's go ahead and give away that copy of Retro Fan Magazine.
I'll take it.
Hey, look at this copy here, folks. If you notice up there in the upper right-hand corner, the March 2023 issue, and I'm not sure if it'll be this copy or the one that follows in May, but the March 2023 issue has a great article on early Superman cartoons, including the Filmation version, which the cool thing about that was, I don't know if a lot of folks realize this, but the voice of Superman in those Filmation cartoons was none other than Bud Collyer, who was the original Superman on radio as well.
Very much so. And you could listen to them without watching them, and they were like a radio drama. The animated series, it was truly audio. You could listen to it and not have to watch it. It was fun watching it, but you could know everything that was going on just by listening to it.
Yeah. So this is what we'll be giving away. Let me take that off the screen. Let me go to my share screen section here. Oh, and we are going to share a tab. Go. And I guess I need to click a button here. So let's do hashtag retro. Folks are already in there. Hashtag retro is what we need to see. I'm going to give everybody that is interested 30 seconds. So I'll put the timer up here, and then I'm going to push that draw button. and we'll
Yep.
see who our winner is tonight.
That's right. It's hashtag Retro TV Radio. You got it?
Oh,
Wait a
we'll
minute.
talk
I'm
about
sorry.
that in a minute. But I love the tie-in. Pat has
Couldn't help it.
his podcast has had a name change, so I'm excited for you to tell us a little bit more about that. And for those folks that haven't been introduced to Pat's podcast yet, they need to be, because our friend TV's Michael Gray is one of the people that he has interviewed in the past, and Butch Patrick was the first interview in season 2, and is Chris Knight number 2, Pat?
Yes, that's Friday.
Awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. All
He
right,
was
let me
great.
go ahead and push the button here. We've got 20 people in 22. I'm going to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me go ahead and click this draw button. Who's our winner tonight? I don't even see Lance in there. Lance Chaffin is always saying he wants to win.
All
Tonight
right,
it's Angela
Angela.
McArdle.
Angela.
Congratulations, Angela. Super great to have you with us tonight, and even better that you are the winner. So here's what I need from you. I need to have you send me your details.
$10,000.
I got your name, but I think I need a physical address to forward on to the folks over at Tomorrow Publishing, or Tomorrow's Publishing. And you know what? Let me just say, this magazine is a phenomenal magazine. Someone asked me in the comments section the other day, I guess there's a magazine called Reminisce that just went out of business. And I have partnerships with both RetroFan and Remind magazine. And I was I've visited with both of the publishers in the past, but most recently was with Remind magazine. And they were telling me that these are tough times for our magazine publishers, tough times. And if you enjoy this type of, of a publication, if you enjoy reading about, things like a retro nostalgic entertainment, and you don't want to see these things go away, I'd encourage you to check them out. And what I will do here is tonight, as RetroFan is giving away this copy of their magazine, and when you get a copy of RetroFan magazine, you're going to see just truly how special it is. It's a very premium magazine on premium paper. The articles are in-depth articles, things you'd actually expect to see in like a book almost. That in-depth in terms of their stories. And I'll put a link to RetroFan in the description section of tonight's live stream. Click on it, check it out. If for no other reason than to find one that intrigues you, I think you can download a digital version for like $5. Find one that's really awesome and support them that way. Let's keep our friends over at RetroFan and Remind. Let's keep them publishing for years to come. So congratulations, Angela. I look forward. Let me put that email address on the screen one more time. Of course, you can back or rewind the live stream if you need to see that, or you can pause it. You can do all sorts of things. So I'm going to take it off the screen here, but that's where I need you to send me your information, and I'll forward it on to Tomorrow's Publishing. So thank you for participating in the giveaway tonight, folks, and congratulations again to Angela. So let me go ahead and stop the screen sharing there, and let me go back to comments. Looks like folks are saying good night. I'm going to put this comment on the screen here. Media Archive Mike said Filmation did a Superboy cartoon. Yes, I remember that ran with their Superman cartoon. He had Crypto the Superdog. Not only did they do Superboy, they did the Justice League of America. They had Green Lantern cartoons. I believe one of you guys mentioned Aquaman earlier. They just had the Flash. I remember seeing the Flash on
Hawkman.
Yeah, Hawkman, part of the Justice League. I was a little bummed that Batman was never part of those Justice League cartoons, but he had his own show. So, all right. So let's do this. Pat, you kind of started talking a little bit about the Retro TV radio brand. Want to tell us a little bit more about what's going on over at your channel and in particular with your podcast?
Holy smokes. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously I went from retro TV trivia. Yes, you can't see that, but that was the title of the work that I did for YouTube, which was specifically shorts, video shorts on my favorite classic TV shows. And it was a fitting title because it was trivia. It was about the shows. I was telling you stories and things that maybe you didn't know. So then things kind of started to morph as they do. And I started to get in touch with, well, I made a really good friend as a Hollywood publicist. And he handles a lot of classic TV stars and movie stars and just stars in general. And we hit it off. And since then, through, of course, my other mutual friends, Kathy Garver, who has just been incredible, hooking me up with these classic TV stars that are available to interview because they're all selling something. Generally, they're books or their merchandise or their upcoming events. You know, these people are still moving and shaking. And man, talking to people like that have that energy, you know, I can't believe I'm talking to somebody that's 90 years old. Hank Garrett, how come you sound like you're 50? And, you know, suddenly I didn't start out so good, but after 23, 24 of them, and now I'm on my 25th, it's like, oh, I'm actually getting more comfortable talking to these people, which is pretty scary. I mean, initially it's like, oh, I sure hope I don't act like a fan. Because I am, you know, but, you know, that kind of, I was able to keep that guy in check a little bit, figure out good questions, and it seems to be working. So that's the title now, Retro TV Radio. Why did I change it? Because everybody that my publicist friend would ask to be on it would go, I don't want to do a game show. What are you talking about? What are you trying to do? Make a fool out of me? This is probably stuff I should know, but I don't. Don't get me there. No, tell the guy no. And he changed it without telling me. He said, it's called Retro TV Radio, and you want to talk to this guy. And I didn't notice it until he sent me the confirmation sheets. And I went, oh, hey, you got this wrong. And he went, actually, I have it right. You might
you know, when I saw it, Pat, I thought that makes a whole heck of a lot of sense.
Oh, it was funny because I said, you're wrong, only to have him say, no, I'm right. Think about it. 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh, of course. Yeah. So that's what it is. And oh my gosh, great episodes coming up. I got Joyce Bulifant. I got Christopher Knight, of course. I talked to Ken Olant today. And oh my gosh, I have hopes coming up, but I can't say it because I don't want to jinx myself. But so far, it's just been a great run. And yeah so that's what's happening now.
And folks, so you can still find the podcasts on YouTube on Pat's channel at Golden Rage of Television or Golden Rage of TV.
Right.
But you can also get those interviews to go, right? You could just, if you have the podcast app on your iPhone or if you have an Android device, Google makes a great podcast app. Just go look it up there.
I'll just tell you, Dave, it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Anchor, Amazon Music, the Kitchen Sink podcast. I mean, it's pretty easy. It's on most of your favorite podcast platforms. And I got to thank this guy, for inspiring me to do so. Him and Alan Sanders, they were, BK on the air. I was with them for years, and it just, it was such an honor working with Barry and Alan. And, they really inspired me to do this. They said, hey, you really ought to be talking to these people because for some reason we like you. We can't find a reason why, but, apparently you have the gift of gab. So talk to them.
As long as you're pointing at that feller there, why don't we, Barry, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're up to these days?
Well, thanks, Dave. Thanks, Pat. And the check cleared. So thanks.
About time.
Thanks. Well, I'm glad we got to do this tonight because I've been wanting to talk about Filmation for a long time and how much I enjoy it and loved it and crazy about it growing up. Still didn't hit on a lot of what I wanted to talk about because we can't get it all in. We got a part amount of time, and we got to have a part 2 one day. But yeah, it's me. It's BK on the air. I do something similar that all of these other guys do that are surrounding me here. It's nostalgia. It's geeky stuff. It's stuff that we love and we have a passion for growing up. The television shows we watch, the movies that we watch, the music that we listen to, the commercials that we watch. It all stuck in our heads and it's still there. I can't get it out. It'll always be there. And I have a live radio show every Saturday from 10 a.m. till noon Eastern on WBHF Radio. It's at WBHFradio.org is the streaming site. A lot of people are not too close enough to hear it on the radio. We do have 100.3 FM and AM 1450, but you can hear me at WBHFradio.org, stream it live, or you can use the free TuneIn app or Radio Garden app. There's 2 apps that we broadcast live on. But fear not, if you miss my show, which I talk about a lot of stuff, retro and nostalgic stuff, you can always, I turn it into a podcast after I get off on Saturday. And I take the local commercials out because no one wants to hear about the funeral home here in Cartersville. And no one wants to hear about the grocery stores and the death notices. We don't want to hear about any of that on podcasts. So I take all of that out and put in old commercials from the past. And these guys are very familiar with all the old commercials. You saw some of them earlier. Dave played a few of them. And I think we cross over like Ghostbusters. We cross the streams on a lot of stuff that we play because we like a lot of the same stuff. So I package it into a podcast. You can hear me. I have my own YouTube channel. It's BK on the Air. I also package it and put it up on SoundCloud, Anchor, and Spotify. So those are the places that you can mainly find my podcast version of the show. And I appreciate if everyone gets to listen to me. And thanks to all you guys tonight. I love each and every one of you. You're all my retro pals. And it's RetroPALooza Part 3. I'm looking forward to Part 4. There you go.
They're always fun. They are always fun. And I got to say, I from time to time I'll just Saturday mornings I'll think what I can fire up the old TuneIn app, but I gotta tell you Barry, I've already said this many times, when you take that radio broadcast and strip out all those commercials that I have no desire in hearing and put in all those vintage commercials and all that kind of stuff, it's just magical. So that's my preferred mechanism of delivery for your show, and I certainly do love listening to it. You and Alan make a great team for sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
It's always a treat to hear him as well.
Total pros.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I appreciate it. You guys
got to take it. You got to take it, man. I'm sorry. You got to take that. It's true.
Thank you.
All right, that leaves us but one. Mr. Thresh Pondo, tell us what's new in your world besides a brand new VCR.
Even cooler than that still. I have big news. Speaking of our good friend Barry, as we just were, I gotta tell you, he has very graciously, he and Alan, have invited me to be on their show. I will be I will be sounding on his show February 25th, and I am so looking forward to my radio debut, and I hope you all are as equally impressed when you hear me. Apart from that, I still am doing my live chats. I've been doing 2 a week because, I'm currently on the dole, as our English cousins would say. My establishment for employment is down for renovations, so I'm using the time off to flood the airwaves and the YouTube waves, as it were. So I've been doing 2 live chats per week. I did one last night. I'm doing another one tomorrow. I have a lot of our great fans come and join me. You guys pop in as well, by the way, and I can't tell you how honored I am to have you guys as well. You're always a treat. And I have another one going on again tomorrow at 8:30, topic to be determined. And I'm still doing regular posts. Like you guys all saw the one about my present to myself. And I'm still doing the Regid recaps and the other sci-fi buffs and whatnot. So I got a lot going on, and still those top 10 dad jokes. Got another one in the works.
Yes, love those.
Always fun to listen to. Retro Nerd Girl says, "Congratulations, T-Pons."
Thank you.
He deserves it.
I think she's referring to your debut on.
I know she's referring to that.
Well, semi-national radio.
no, as soon as I heard it, I knew it would be perfect. You will jibe perfectly with these two guys. Watch that Alan guy though. He's a little
I cannot tell you how flattered I am to even be asked. I will try to live up to the expectation, but I'm very flattered.
All right, we've got just a little bit of extra time. So if you guys have 10 minutes, let's do a rapid round of questions. Folks, throw it in, put a Q, put a star, put something in front of the comment so I know that it's a question directed at my panel or myself or all of us or however. But let's answer a few questions before we call this thing good and begin preparations for RetroPALooza 4.
I still got way more notes.
I did see a request earlier for us to talk Ruby Spears. There's a few Ruby Spears cartoons, although I got to tell you, Filmation for me and Hanna-Barbera, obviously, but for different reasons. Filmation is just a special animation house. Karen Lee asks, Barry, this one's for you, my friend. Are you on YouTube? I didn't happen to catch if you said so. Thanks.
I am right now. Well, I'm right now. Yeah. Yes, I do have a YouTube channel, BK on the Air. I have many commercials up there, classic commercials, and many episodes of the podcast from the past are on there. You can catch up or just see the newest ones that are up there. So yes, I certainly do. Thank you.
Emily's kind of a trickster here. Question. Oh, no question. Just wanted to be noticed. Well, there you go. Channel member Emily Miller, one of the all-time great Wordle players, by the way. You are definitely noticed.
We always notice you, Em.
She's a force.
All right.
She's a force.
Here's a question for you, BK. Oh, Jason Goldtrap wants to do some voiceover work for your station. Do you guys hire out or do you have in-house personnel?
You're looking at him.
Well, yeah, it's me and Alan Sanders, and if we take on anybody else, we'll be out of a job. So I don't know. But I appreciate it, though. Really,
I've been trying to break in for years. There's no chance. No chance.
Jay Aldridge has a question for Thrash Pondo. Do you have any Star Trek comic books, and will you be reviewing them?
Funny you should ask. I just got a bunch from our good friend of channels, John Doe, and I'll be doing wretched recaps of them in due course.
All right. That's exciting. You know, Thrash Pondo does great comic recaps. I got to throw a shout out to our community member, Danny Staten, who also just does the enthusiasm and vigor with which that young man does his comic book reviews is definitely worth noting. So, you guys can check those out just by, if you're in the chat. I don't know if you guys know this, but you can just click on any of the names and you're taken to their channel if they have a channel on YouTube.
And Star Trek had quite the comic book history. I mean, Marvel and DC, they just were all over the place.
Right. I was going to say they pretty much all of the labels, including Dell. Well, it wasn't Dell. What was it? Was it called Whitman at the time or Gold Key?
Gold Key. And Whitman, and when they reprinted them, yeah, it was Whitman.
Yep. Let's see. Tom Lemery has a question. Oh, what a question. I wonder if Michael's here to answer the question. And you know what? This isn't a fair question for Michael to answer. And I don't want him to if he's still around. But it's a fair enough one for us to answer. So just rapidly, with maybe one or two sentences to justify it, if you want to. Who was your favorite Captain Marvel? Jackson or John?
Certainly not Brie Larson, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We're both gonna say John because John was such a nice guy, and this I only get from our esteemed guest, Jackson.
I've heard that John was just, for me. I will tell you that for me, I'm just going to throw. I enjoyed Jackson, his performance better, but being a follower of Michael's on Twitter, I obviously have a soft spot for Jackson's replacement, is it John Davey, I think was his name. And it's Jackson Bostwick, right? Jackson Bostwick, John Davey. Because he stepped into a really tough situation, ran with it, and obviously made great connections and relationships that to this day I know that Michael's very close with John, whereas Jackson is kind of, I believe he stepped away from the industry. But I didn't hear other opinions on Jackson or John.
Jackson still, he does conventions still. He does appearances as well. And but yeah, I'm just going to have a cop out answer. I like them both, but only because of there's different reasons I liked one and then the other. It's a mixture of the two. Meeting Jackson was fun and talking to him and finding out he's a Southern guy from the South, like me, and I never knew that. And then John Davey is one of the nicest guys you'll probably ever meet, and there's a big history there with what happened, replacing one another. It could take up an entire podcast. So yes,
Bob,
I was just going to say, as I was 6'7" when I watched the show, I must confess, it all kind of blended together for me. So I'm with Barry. I don't have a clear standout, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I will say this: in the John camp, he was the one that crossed over with ISIS, and boy, did I love me an ISIS crossover.
Yes, but the best Billy Batson of all time is Michael Gray.
There's no
hands down.
Yeah, no competition there.
Yes,
finest Billy Batson ever. All right, we have another question here. Karen Lee, let's see, is asking if you have your own channel, Thrash Pondo. She sees you on Retro Serial, but do you have your own channel?
Yes, I do. It's this. As I destroy my mic, it's this name. It's Thrash Pondo Ponds, and it's a nostalgia channel where I talk about movies, TV, and literature of the sci-fi genre as a whole. But I also delve into comedy as well at times. At least I think I'm funny, and I talk about other hot topics with as far as a vintage nostalgia entertainment as well. Hop on, check me out. Hopefully there'll be a few of my posts that you like, and please come by for one of my live chats. I don't know if I mentioned it already. I got one tomorrow night at 8:30, and again, you can find me at Thrash Pondo Ponds right here on YouTube.
Here we go. The official answer. The official answer. I'm going to take this one as this is, I'm not going to argue this. If TV's Michael Gray says that both of them were great, but John and I are very good friends and do a lot of Comic Cons. And that's what I've seen. I've seen a lot of pictures of the two of them together. And from everything I've been told, it sounds like John Davey is a heck of a wonderful guy.
Yep.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate the input there and helping to answer our community members' question. Let's see.
And adding total prestige to this podcast, this stream.
A whole heck of a lot of luster. Let's see. I think we might be done with the questions, which is great. I mean, let's end with Michael's comment there. Again, fellers, it's just truly wonderful having you here. I look forward to RetroPALooza 4. We're going to have to get our heads together and figure out what the topic for RetroPALooza 4 will be. But it's whatever it is, I know it's going to be absolutely delightful. So thanks for joining. Folks, check out their channels. Check out their channels. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. For these folks like Barry and Pat who, they have podcasts out there, open up, click on that little app button, open up your favorite podcast app, and look for BK on the Air and Retro TV Radio. Right? Is it Retro TV Radio now on the podcast, Pat?
You got it, Dave. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, and Thrash Pondo, he is right now in subscriber growth mode. So if you haven't clicked on that little subscriber button for Thrash Pondo, I know Bob will truly appreciate it. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and let me go full screen here. I just want to say thanks to all of you. Thanks to everybody that's dropped a super chat into the stream tonight. Truly appreciated. Thank you again, Michael Gray. So awesome to have you in the chat with us this evening. Really wonderful. You're just a wonderful community, and I truly love connecting with you on a weekly basis this way. Let me go ahead and end this live stream this way, and then I'll play a few videos. If you want to hang around and visit for a few minutes, I'll play a few videos. But if I didn't play this little video, I would just feel like something is missing. And don't worry, Pat, it's not Lawrence Welk.
You are special.
The Shazam ISIS Hour. A full hour of exciting adventure with the world's most powerful mortals. Captain Marvel, champion of truth and justice. And ISIS, dedicated foe of evil. Both together in the Shazam ISIS Hour.
In 1974, viewers of Saturday morning television were in for a big surprise when CBS, working with Filmation and a handful of other studios, made the decision to overhaul their cartoon-heavy lineup with live-action programming designed for kids. One of the first to debut was Shazam, starring Michael Gray as Billy Batson and Jackson Bostwick as the hero that he transforms into with one magic word: Captain Marvel. I really love this photo. Of course, it's just a publicity still. There's no way that Billy Batson and Captain Marvel could ever be in the same shot. Still, it's a great picture, and it does a good job of establishing just how heroic Jackson Bostwick looked wearing the traditional Captain Marvel uniform. The show would start each week by explaining that Billy Batson had been chosen from among all others, and that with his mentor, he traveled the highways and byways of the land on a never-ending mission to right wrongs and develop understanding, and to seek justice for all. Man, I ate this stuff up. I really did. Way back then, I didn't blink twice at the cheesy mix of live action and animation on the intro. When Billy Batson uttered that single word Shazam, I was in seventh heaven. Yep, we had live action superheroes again on TV. Something that I hadn't seen since 1968 when the dynamic duo were part of ABC's primetime lineup. And while Batman's sole purpose, at least way back then, was to entertain, this version of Shazam, as explained in the intro, sought to forge understanding. In between my bites of Lucky Charms cereal, I would actually learn a thing or two about how to interact with others and make good decisions each day. And as if that weren't enough, at the end of each episode, Captain Marvel would show back up and summarize the lesson that I should have learned from that week's episode. No doubt about it, I am a better person because I watched Shazam on Saturday morning TV.
Coppertone, lay back, slip into something tan.
You, the sun.
And Coppertone, it's so easy to look so good.
So dark, so dazzling.
Coppertone.
Coppertone is the one for the tan, for the protection.
Lay back, slip into something tan. Coppertone.
Monday, the Square Pegs kick off Johnny Slash's new career.
Totally.
Then, a comedy special with two sisters living it up in San Francisco.
All are wet.
Yeah, self-cleaning.
She's with me. And on Tucker's Witch, Rick and Amanda stalk a killer who's stalking Amanda. Ted Danson co-stars Monday.
This is CBS.
Pepsi free. Let your taste go free. Pepsi free. You're going caffeine free. The taste is positively Pepsi and it's caffeine free. Positively Pepsi free.
Leave it to Pepsi to make a caffeine-free cola with a taste that's positively Pepsi. Pepsi-free, regular and sugar-free.
The taste is positively Pepsi and it's caffeine free. Positively Pepsi free. Pepsi free.
So let's talk about Arc 2 for a minute. The show was set in the 25th century after the Earth had been decimated by the effects of waste, pollution, and warfare. Each week, 3 young scientists would wander around in a high-tech vehicle called the Arc 2, hence the show's name, to search for remnants of humanity, reintroducing lost ideas, and when possible, reigniting a spark of humanity into a world that had fallen into a very dark age. It was fairly low budget, and like all of the live-action shows in the 70s, there was always, and I mean always, a lesson to be learned by the end of the episode. Ruth and Samuel, they were my favorite characters on the show, and I guess I liked the monkey a lot too. Jonah, on the other hand, well, he wasn't my favorite. Not sure why, just couldn't relate. And speaking of not understanding why, I'm not sure why this episode sticks out as one of my favorites, but I guess anytime you can include Robbie the Robot in an episode, well, it shouldn't be missed. It happened on episode 10. You can find it right here on YouTube, folks. So after this video, why don't you Google that and enjoy? Now, I know that it feels like Arc 2 was on TV for a long time. CBS had it as part of its Saturday morning lineup for almost 4 years, but the weird thing is that much like the shows by Sid and Marty Krofft, these Filmation productions only had first-run episodes for 1 or 2 seasons max. In the case of Arc 2, it was just 1 season. There were only 15 episodes ever made, but CBS, well, they ran them over and over through 1979. So that's it. What do you think? Were you a fan of Arc 2? Or did you prefer the other live-action shows that showed up on CBS like Shazam, Space Academy, or Jason of Star Command? Let me know in the comments section below, and while you're at it, I would appreciate it if you clicked on the thumbs up icon and maybe even considered subscribing to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and mostly television from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most of all, and as always, thank you so much for watching.